Hey, welcome everyone. My name is Steven Donovan, aka Even Steven Money. This is the Track Your Expenses and Budget worksheet right on Google Sheets. So let's get right to it. But first, do you want to connect with me? Check me out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, of course, YouTube, and the blog over at evenstevenmoney.com if you want to get to know more about me as well. Now, getting right to it, this is a tutorial that we're going to walk through. The first item is going to be your financial snapshot. This is commonly referred to as a net worth. Now, I have written instructions on the side that you can absolutely follow step by step. I wanted to give just a little bit more color and a little bit more in depth on how to update this with a little bit of a demonstration as well. So your financial snapshot is that moment in time that you take where you're looking at your assets and your liabilities to see what your net worth is or what that financial snapshot says. So with this, what you're going to do is you're going to update the white cells. Everything else is going to update on its own. So for example, I have here, this is listed under assets as cash. So we're going to be looking at the AB column here, or the blue. So now if you have a bank account at Chase, you can enter it there. And let's say the value is, as of today, $2,500. You'll see when I updated that, a couple things changed. The blue value changed, which is the cash that I currently hold, and as well as the overall net worth or financial snapshot changes. You can do that with each item in the white cells. And you'll see checking savings. I added a plethora of them. As well, we'll move on to another item that would be considered an asset, which would be investments. So I put in there Edward Jones, different brokerages, your 401k at work, IRA, maybe with Vanguard, or other investments that you have. Again, anytime that you're going to update these categories, the investments in this case is going to update, and then your overall financial snapshot number is going to increase when you increase the assets. And then here is other assets that you can put in there. Of course, your home, possibly a car. And now these assets here, when you update the values, will update your overall total assets, but again, update your financial snapshot. Now, moving on to the next item is your liabilities. Now, the updating is the exact same. The only difference that happens is when you update the liabilities. So again, we'll change this. We'll say Citibank for your credit card, and we have a $2,000 balance. This changes $2,000. We saw that, same as our assets over here, but this number actually reduces because you owe that bank or you owe that credit card a certain amount, and it reduces the overall financial snapshot. Now, this is the same throughout. I added it. I don't know how many credit cards everyone had, so I left 8 there. And then I added loans, or in most cases, it's going to be fixed loans. So like your car loan, let's say that's a $10,000 item. This increases your loan value in this orange slot, but then decreases your overall financial snapshot number. And again, this is here's where your total liabilities would update as well. Now you could add in here other liabilities. I added medical debt. You can update as you see fit. I recommend changing both items when you do it, so it's very clear to you. Again, I have instructions here on the right. You're going to have this video, and I also have an example. Moving on to the next tab is going to be your budget practice plan. So this is where you're going to track your expenses, and then you're going to actually implement the items for the budget. Before I move on to the budget practice plan, I did want to make one note. A lot of the items that I show here are based on using personal capital. You don't have to use it, but it's a good helper. It's a free tool. It allows you, for one, you could enter in all of your bank information and it would spit out a net worth or financial snapshot for you. Really helpful in keeping up to date with this. But as well, it'll help you track your expenses. So I mentioned that here in step 5. So a lot of the things that I talk about moving forward, categories and some of the items that I use for the budget practice plan, I personally use personal capital. So I wanted to include that in there. So just as a reminder. On to the budget practice plan. So now this is based on the zero sum budget, but this is going to be very similar in terms of how everything looks to be updated. The items in blue are going to be your income, and the items in orange is going to be your expenses. So now when we're updating items again that are in the white, you would put in whatever your job is. So if you, I put in here plumber, let's say you are a teacher, you receive your money via direct deposit, could be an example. You receive it on the first, and you're a teacher, you get paid a little bit better than that. So we added $2,500, and then that number changes to increase because your income is increasing. Very similar. You see, I have all those items ready for your paycheck, and there in blue is your total income. So this is going to be the same as this number here. So just update these cells and you'll be all right. Now, instructions are on the right if you ever need to follow them. It is the exact same. Now, with a zero sum budget, this number is your income. And what you want to do, what this budget does for you, is it reduces your total expenses as you enter them in. So this number is subtracted from all of the items that are in your budget. So now, in the example of mortgage or rent, we can update that, and you will see that when you update that, the number actually reduces here because it's being subtracted from your income. So this is in an ideal world, and I'll say in an ideal world all the way around, we need to get this number to zero, and then these numbers here will actually fall in suit as we go along. So while I was having you only update the budget items, what happens is when you're entering in the mortgage, this is what your projected budget is for the month. And as a reminder, as it keeps popping up, the category suggestions can be found on the categories tab. Makes sense. So as we're entering in what we think we're going to spend or what we've historically spent for that month, we put that in our budget category. We want that number to come to zero eventually. So I'll make it go to zero. Let's say our home insurance is $251 on the dot, and we're at zero. Now, if our mortgage rent comes in, most likely it's going to come at the same amount every month. That's a pretty easy update. And then two things happen when we enter the actual amount. So now we could do this either whenever that expense comes in or after the month is over. But then our running total or our actual is then reduced. And you notice that our actual number and our difference is similar because what should happen is your budget should equal exactly what your actual budget is, and there won't be any difference. Now, it's not a perfect world, so these numbers are going to be a little bit different. But this number here will be 0, 2 for that zero sum budget. Now, looking through everything, again, the categories are based on personal capital, and all of the items are listed here in their expense category. So there should be a really good listing of it. You can always add more if you need, but that is what is here. I've put some add categories in case you need to update anything. And as you can see here, it runs through. These are going to be, what you see in the bottom here is going to be very similar to what's on top here. Now, just as a reminder, if this is perfect for you, you go through your budget practice plan for the first time, you can actually right click and you can duplicate what you've done for the month. And that is how you are going to move on to the next month. And then just simply change it again, renaming it. Make it June 2020 or whatever is easiest for you. And then you can update the categories and amounts as you go. Now, you can also use the budget tool, which is an option. The only thing that's different out of all of this is that I created this as a drop down instead of a regular fill-in, or I had all those filled in for you. So these are under expenses. If, for example, cable satellite, you can update that here. As you can see, I left all of these as expenses and you can update accordingly. If you like that, if it's easier, whatever works best for you. Most people end up using the budget practice plan because that's what they get comfortable with, but whatever works best for you. So I'm going to delete this last June 2020 because it's not needed. And then just remind you again, that last tab there is the categories, which is going to have all your expense categories that you can use. I even added, again, everything from personal capital, which is going to include transfers and income as well. Now, I hope that is a good tutorial of how to use the items. If you have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the YouTube comments. I will absolutely answer. You can, of course, send me an email if that's easier for you, evenstevenmoney@gmail.com. To get back to the welcome page, feel free to reach out to me in any of these ways. I am more than happy to help. Definitely check me out, like, subscribe. I do videos from time to time, and I enjoy comments. I enjoy the likes. I don't do them that often, so I really appreciate anything that you can do in terms of comments to show that this is working for you and it's something that's for you. Again, thank you for checking it out. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you enjoy Even Steven Money.